Well, welcome everyone to today's webinar, Innovative Partnerships, Adult Basic Education and Workforce Development Boards. I am hosting today's webinar. I'm Steve Schmidt, the COA Professional Development Coordinator. And of course, we couldn't have any of our webinars without our wonderful sponsors. So I would love to introduce Robert Breitbart from Burlington English. And Robert, thank you so much for Burlington English for sponsoring today's webinar.
Hey, thanks ever so much there, Mr. Schmidt. And big thanks to everybody involved with COABE for doing all the heavy lifting and getting all these great presenters together. And I happen to know some great things that they're going to be talking about. Done a lot of work in Indiana, so you're in for a real treat today on partnerships. And as uh, as Steve mentioned, my name is Robert Breitbart, Director of Educational Partnerships with Burlington English. And something you might be seeing right there is actually Burlington Workforce. So we're still the great Burlington English, but we've got even more things right now for you and coming your way. So I'd like to ask you, are your learners ready to work? And of course, what you're going to be hearing in this webinar, because usually when we're talking about putting the W in WIOA and workforce and doing the right things for our learners, we need partners. So I'm super excited that we've got some fantastic presenters for you. And as far as Burlington's concerned, we've got dozens and dozens of career specific essential courses coming out. Some are ready right now, some will be ready this summer. So you want to make sure you're connecting with your Burlington English representative or burlingtonworkforce.com. So bottom line is let's democratize certificates. Let's open this up to everybody as far as getting people into employment. And so let's make sure that we can do that for every one of our learners, and Burlington Workforce helps you do that. So these are career courses for in-demand. They're fast-tracked, boot camp style for many of them. They can really fit so many of your learners, both folks improving their English as well as native speakers as well. All practical workforce vocabulary, real-life dialogues, durable skills or soft skills, years ago we used to call them, but also foundational skills for career success. So really, as you'll see here for the first time with Burlington, more than just English. So we've even got mathematics, of course, digital literacy we've had, financial literacy. And then as far as really something if you really want to fast track people to really be ready to go for that job interview, have the essential, the durable skills to get the job, keep the job, then you'll want to be on the lookout for what we have ready right now, which is ready to work. And this is career exploration, employability skills, digital literacy, financial literacy at 3 different levels. So time limits me from being as excited as I can, but please, 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 whether it's for information and resources for your teachers, obviously for your learners, all the planning tools you need, Burlington Ready to Work is ready to go. So with that, hope to see you at burlingtonworkforce.com. And with that, I'll turn it over to the incomparable Steve Schmidt. Thanks so much, Steve.
Robert, thank you so much, and much appreciation to Burlington English for sponsoring today's webinar. Well, a few housekeeping chores before I turn things over to our presenter today. I know many of you have already. If you have not yet, please introduce yourself in the chat. I see people from all over the country, and it's so good to be with you today. If you have questions for our panelists today, I would invite you please to put those questions in the Q&A, and we will certainly get to those over the course of the webinars. Another housekeeping chore is that you will receive your certificate, and the webinar recording will be available 24 hours after the end of today's webinar. And other resources like the PowerPoint slides will be available 48 hours after the close of the webinars on COABE's website. So this good information will be available for you to use as a resource later on and on an ongoing basis. Well, without further ado, it is my joy to introduce our main presenter for today's webinar, Robert Moore. And Robert is the Education and Workforce Specialist for COABE. And Robert has several panelists who'll be assisting him on today's webinar that he'll be introducing later. But Robert Moore, thank you so much for being here today. And we look forward to today's webinar.
Thank you very much. Just want to make sure, am I sharing okay? You can see the screen and everything the way it's supposed to be?
Yes, everything looks great.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Welcome to this presentation for COA. Very happy to be here on innovative partnerships, adult education, and workforce development. And we're very happy and very honored to be invited to give this presentation for you. Hope it's very helpful. Okay. Just a little bit. Oh, by the way, I want to say that Robert Breitbart, Burlington Workforce. I hardly endorse that product, by the way, used it as a local program director. It's exactly what we needed for our integrated English language and civics education and our English language classes. Hardly endorse that. If my seal of approval means anything, let you know we are very, very satisfied customer of that product. Helped us with a lot of things we did. So thanks, Robert, for your team for great leadership with us. Let you know about COABE. As you know, our mission, our national organization as the voice of adult education, is to inspire growth in the adults that we work with and serve so they can achieve their full potential. And our vision is to be recognized as a catalyst for empowering changes in individuals, strengthen their families, and enriching our communities. Right? Did you know that COABE has over 100,000 members? And they are working in over 2,300 programs, serving, guess how many? 3.2 million learners. That's pretty outstanding numbers there that we serve. Now, you might want to also get ready right now for a major event that COABE coordinates with us and gives us leadership in, and that is Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, coming up in September. But we want to make sure that you're doing some planning now to make sure that you're getting the word out about our local programs in your communities. There's a QR code that you can scan for some resources. I'm sure that'll be updated between now and then. So keep an eye on that. I always found it to be very, very helpful for Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. Okay. Now, kind of back at our topic today. Since our topic today is innovative partnerships, I wanted to encourage our adult education programs to join COABE's one of the many initiatives, this one, Behind Every Employer. In this initiative, your program can list itself on a directory at behindeveryemployer.org. The website is there, the QR code is there. And by doing that, you are indicating that you are interested in partnering to provide workforce literacy services. So I'm going to invite you now to scan that code or go to that website on another browser and see if your local adult education program is already listed there. So let me pause here for just a moment while you bring that up. And as you're bringing that up, I'm going to go to another slide at the QR code, and the website will continue on there for you. But when you do that website or that QR code, once you're there, you can scroll on down toward the bottom and enter your zip code in the search box. I'll pause a little bit while you're doing that. I think you can also type the name of your community in there, like I think I've got Phoenix in there. And then hopefully you'll see your program on a list of local adult education programs listed in the area of the city or zip code that you entered. Now, the thing to remember is that this is not a complete directory of WIOA Title II programs or adult literacy programs in our country or territory. This directory is a list of us as COABE members and providers who have chosen to self-list because we're saying, hey, we want to provide adult literacy activities, or we do provide them, and we want to partner. So if your program is not listed, you can do that. You want to go back to the main page of Behind Every Employer and click on the Join Us button. I've indicated that with the red arrow. Then the next screen that comes up, you're going to click on the Get on the Locator Map button. And then you'll fill out a one-page form about your adult education program. If you want, you can add a description of any employer partnerships you have, and then there's a submit button. Pretty easy. I found that when I did this, shoot, I did it in no time. It took me about maybe 10 minutes or so, if that. So just so you know, why this is important, why I'm bringing this up now. Next week, I'm going to give a similar presentation at the National Workforce Development Professionals Annual Conference in Phoenix. And I'm going to tell them about this, okay, about Behind Every Employer. So they'll be able to find you on that map, and hopefully some of them will be looking for you, okay? So please go ahead and do that. I think it's just really worth the very little effort it takes to get listed. Okay. Now, it could also work the other way. The U.S. Department of Labor maintains a website called Career One Stop. The QR code in the website is there. On it, you can find a Workforce Development Board finder. So I'm going to pause for just a moment while you bring that web page up. Okay, now that you've done that, you can click on the America Job Center link that I have indicated with the red button there. And then when you do that, you click on the Workforce Development link I've indicated on the left side with the red line. And when you do that, you'll click on the link Workforce Development Board Finder. Go ahead and click that if you're there. Now, you can search that directory for your state. And here I've indicated Arkansas just for as an example. When you click on the search button, you're going to get your state offices, or state office that oversees the workforce development boards, and the contact information for your regional and local workforce boards. And under service area, you can find your county and the workforce development board that serves your area so that you can contact them. So I think it's a wonderful resource that the National Association of Workforce Boards made us aware of, and hopefully you'll be able to use that if you need to find out current information, contact information about your local workforce board, which we'll be talking about today in partnership. Okay. But anyway, back to our subject today. I hope that as a result of today's presentation, we'll be able to accomplish 3 objectives. First, I hope we'll be able to identify effective partnership models between workforce development organizations and adult basic education providers. Secondly, I hope that after today's presentation, we can apply some strategies to align goals, strategies, and resources to address partnership challenges. And finally, I hope this presentation will prompt you to develop actionable next steps to strengthen local collaborations that improve outcomes for your students, job seekers, and employers. So let's get started. Okay. I think it's helpful for any topic we're learning about to understand the terms we're using. For today, the primary term we'll be talking about, of course, is partnership. So I'd like to think about, and maybe type in the chat there, what does partnership mean to you? I'll pause for just a moment while you think about that. And as you're doing that, you're kind of putting your thought of what partnership means to you. Let you know that I'm a history teacher by origin before I got into secondary administration and then adult education administration. So that's kind of where I come from. So that's why I was inviting you to think about this term partnership and what that means to you. Always did that with our history students when we're talking about terms. And I'll just let you know that in that vein, partnership actually has a Latin derivation from the word partitio. In Latin, partitio is a word that indicates a sharing or a division or a distribution. In Old French, the term is parcionnier. Hope I said that right in French, parcionnier, which would mean a joint heir or a joint owner or an associate. So Partnership from the Latin and from the Old French has a sense of a relationship that both brings together, like sharing or co-owning, and dividing, distribution. And I think as we go through our presentation today, you'll see why both those senses of the term, although they may seem opposite, sharing and dividing, are both important. Okay. Now, as adult educators, I guess we've heard about something called WIOA, right? Then you know under WIOA, this WIOA umbrella, there are 4 main titles. And you know that WIOA enumerates the core partners for the delivery of job training and related services. Okay, so here's where we are. Title II, the Adult Education and Family Literacy Act, which authorizes, under this Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, it authorizes education services to assist adults in improving basic skills, becoming literate in the English language, completing high school education, and transitioning to post-secondary education. And you may be aware that the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, WIOA, provides a common set of performance and accountability metrics for these partners who deliver these services. And here they are. So in the adult basic education world, we have these same performance outcomes, just like our regional workforce boards do that deliver titles 1 and 3 services. And I found that my first step in forming any kind of partnership, even before identifying potential partners to pitch to, is to identify why I need a partner. So as an adult educator, I found that we need our one-stop. We turn toward each other and my job seekers' goals. So do you need a potential partner to be a referral source of job seekers to enroll in your adult basic education program? Do you need a partner to increase students' measurable skill gains? Do you need a partner to help students get employment in jobs that pay livable wages after exiting my program? Do you need support in helping students earn industry-recognized credentials? Do my students need help in transitioning to college, apprenticeships, or other forms of further training? Do you need a career development partner to help students with resumes and mock interviews? Then after identifying the reasons why I need partners, I identified what organizations or people can support these goals. So in that way, I'm both sharing and dividing, right? Like partnership suggests. So it seemed very natural in my experience that our adult education programs and our workforce development professionals turn toward each other and help ourselves, our job seekers and our adult learners accomplish these outcomes. So I always encourage our adult education programs and workforce development organizations to be thinking about how we can work together to help our customers and students achieve their goals and both of our organizations' performance outcomes at the same time. Now, in adult education activity that can be helpful in meeting those goals and outcomes is IETs, or Integrated Education and Training Courses. This activity is authorized for adult basic education under WIOA, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, Title II. That's the Adult Education and Family Literacy Act. In an IET course, a curriculum is developed and that uses and integrates 3 sets of skills: adult education literacy, workforce training, and workforce preparation. And it integrates these simultaneously and contextually in the words of the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. So a primary partner across all my IETs when I was a local program director was our local America Job Centers, sometimes called the one-stops. As you know, all states have them, and they might be called by different names. Here in Indiana, we call them Work One offices. An adult education program director at my local level, my relationship with our workforce development professionals at our one-stop has always been fantastic. I also know from my experience working as an adult education administrator mentor in other parts of my state and in other states that the relationship is also very good, or the relationship is very bad, or there is no relationship whatsoever. But we have to remember that your local workforce development center, which operates the one-stops, the America Job Centers, and as local adult education providers, we are WIOA core partners. They're Title I and III, we're Title II. So under WIOA, we have the same metrics: enrollment, measurable skill gains, employment, livable wages, placement into post-secondary education and training. So it just makes sense for me anyway, that since we're serving the same population for the same purposes, we try to join hands. And I found that having workforce development professionals as partners, we both can get our job seekers and our adult learners training and employed much more effectively than if I try to go it alone. So, why did our local American Job Centers, our one stop, or whatever you call it in your various states, partner with us in adult basic education? What can we do for each other in general? Well, we found in adult education program that our IETs provided an opportunity for them to increase their customer and job seeker enrollments. Their clients are job seekers who need training and employment. So American Job Center customers make natural IET students. So through co-enrollment with our American Job Centers, job seekers, and as adult basic education students in our IETs, it made our IETs more sustainable on our end, and it helped our regional workforce board increase their enrollments and therefore their funding. And what better audience for IETs but those who are actively seeking training and employment? So the American Job Center customers and our adult basic education students are natural sources of enrollments for each other. And the one-stops also make our IET sustainable through cooperative funding. The American Job Centers have some Title I funding for training, Trade Adjustment Act dollars, and perhaps some other funding from state and federal sources that they can attach to each job seeker and actually pay for the training that they need. Our adult basic education programs also have funding for training under WIOA Title II and perhaps some other forms of state funding. So we both can use our allocations to provide supportive services to help adult learners and job seekers overcome barriers to education, training, and employment. And so I found when we kicked in our IET dollars and our workforce development one-stop kicked in their WIOA and other training funds, we can both serve more job seekers, and that benefits all of us. The one-stop, Workforce Development Board, us as an adult education program, and of course, the IET students and job seekers. A third part of the partnership between our one-stop office and the adult basic education program has been in case management. Each job seeker at the American Job Center is assigned to a career advisor who ensures that the job seekers need training, are qualified for training funds, do career research so they're entering training that's appropriate for them, and they'll likely persist in and follow up when they need assistance overcoming barriers to employment. Our adult education programs also typically have career navigators, career counselors, or maybe it's the director of the program or the teachers themselves who function as coaches to support our adult education students in removing those barriers to completion of training and follow up with them after exit. So when we double down on the case management, that can be a big asset for all of us, isn't it? And we're joining forces on mutual referral for enrollments. Leveraging funding and case management and career advising, we found all those performance metrics fall into place. We both meet our goals, and the job seekers, the IET participants meet their goals, measurable skill gains, employment, wages, placement into post-secondary education and training, because we share the same performance outcomes and goals. So like, again, the term partnership suggests, we're both sharing and distributing. We're sharing and distributing both the work and the outcomes. So, what were some keys to our success as partners? Well, first, through regular meetings and with the workforce development professionals and at the one stop, typically the career advisors and their supervisors, once every month or two, no less than once a quarter. And in those meetings, we discuss the needs of their job seekers and our capabilities to offer IETs that match those needs. We shared ideas for new IETs and new other adult education classes to make sure that workforce development professionals would utilize them. We talked about barriers to completion and needs for supportive services and how we're going to get them. We made sure our cross-referral process was working. All those and more were important topics to make sure our partnership for adult education and workforce development was working smoothly for the partnership, for the participants, and us. I think a second key that I found was through some marketing and advertising. And I did that through a standardized brochure I made for each of our IETs. and I send it to our workforce development professionals at the One Stop through email. So it was standardized. Hopefully became recognizable and had the information they needed. So in fact, about 2 weeks before each IET class started, I advertised the next one. So class got started. 2 weeks after it started, I advertised the next one. And that way, the workforce development professionals at the One Stop had plenty of time to collect job seekers to participate. And inside that brochure, I put a description of the training itself, the dates, times, locations, requirements, registration deadlines, the process, all those things that the workforce development professionals and their job seekers want right there on hand. And I just updated this for each new cohort for each IET with the upcoming dates, times, locations, and things like that. Pretty simple process for me, which our partners at the One Stops told me they found very helpful too. Let me share another example of our partnership and how it bore fruit. This time in the area of workforce literacy. In my area in Bloomington, Indiana, we had a company, Cook Medical. It's a medical device manufacturer headquartered here in Bloomington, and they've been working with our America Job Center employer engagement team on how to grow their workforce. They needed production workers pretty badly, and found that really it's a company that when you go to work for them, you attend and do your job. You can that could be the last job interview you ever have because you can stay there for 30 years and had such great employer benefits that the employees are trying to get their family members to join, their younger family members. And in their discussions with the employment engagement team, they realized that, gosh, Monroe County, Indiana, where Bloomington's located, has 5,000 adults aged 18 to 64 without a high school diploma. Well, they realized, gosh, that's an untapped resource. They called it invisible workforce. So the One Stop's employer engagement team brought us in as adult educators to help with the solution. And the company said, okay, we're going to advertise some entry-level positions in a way that removes the requirement to have a high school credential. We're going to hire them part-time. So half the day they're going to work in the employee cafeteria or in maintenance. And half the day they're going to attend a high school equivalency class in our program. And when they pass the high school equivalency test, we're going to put them to work full-time in production. So we provided a 7-week high school equivalency class just year-round just for them. So we, the adult basic education provider, became a tool in our One Stop's tool belt as it helped this employer fill its workforce needs. We all contributed. We all benefited. We shared the work, and we all distributed the work. We all achieved the outcomes we were hoping for: enrollees, employees, measurable skill gains, and great job with livable wages. So let's share some ideas. What are some other examples of successful partnerships you've had with your workforce development board and its One Stops? And have you faced some barriers to partnering with the workforce development offices? I'll pause for just a moment while you think about that and type something in there. So you're trying to reach out to your workforce development partners. Let me offer some ideas up to you from my perspective as an adult education program director. Here's what I think we should be talking about. You might think about why you need the Regional Workforce Board and its One Stops. Secondly, what do you need the One Stop to do? Thirdly, what do you need Regional Workforce Development Board to contribute to a particular effort or initiative or to a partnership in general? And finally, let's talk about how everyone, the Workforce Development Board, the Adult Education Program, the job seekers, the adult education students, and employers around you will benefit. Steve, do we have anything in the chat, some ideas from that previous screen, those previous questions that are useful for us?
Several people have mentioned challenges they've had with working with their board. Um, a good positive comment was from Marcus. He said, "We have a great partnership with our West Michigan Works agency. We deliver IETs with braided funding and enlist their trainers and career coaches in the classes. We're also working on a grant together to start a welcome back center for internationally trained medical professionals."
Great, great. And let me see if this is appropriate. You don't have to give the names, but are there any particular challenges that people have named? You don't have to give the names of the locations. Just what are some of the challenges, Steve, that are coming in?
Challenges they were mentioned with they don't have a relationship with their board, and Pennsylvania was mentioned about career links have been outsourced and no one seems to know what anyone else is doing. Someone else mentioned they can't keep staff, that these centers are closed most of the time and we have to work with someone far away.
Ah, very good. Great. Thanks a
Another
lot for.
positive comment was for Mississippi. We have a strong partnership with our one stops, which we call WIN job centers. We have classes located in the centers. All of our students sign up with Mississippi Works, connecting students to their services.
Excellent. What a great system that is. Good deal. So these four questions about that I put on here for planning the conversation, I actually put in a kind of a handout form. Hopefully I can get that out to you in some way, participants, that maybe you could use this. So I kind of developed this into a little conversation starter worksheet that you might use. And on it, I've invited you, I invite you just to jot down your thoughts on those four questions that we looked at, plus some more detailed questions under each one that will maybe prompt some thinking. So I hope it'll prompt you with some ideas you might think about and talk about as you're planning a true partnership between your workforce development center and your local adult education provider, so that in the spirit of partnership, you both contribute, you're both invested, and you both benefit, them and your job seekers and adult learners. So, for example, if location is a problem, that might be something you might put. What do you need the local one stop to do? What can we do if we're not physically present? How can we be present to each other and to our job seekers if locations are a problem? Or if there's, I think somebody mentioned, like, can't keep staff. So, okay, how is there a way that maybe that's a need that you put on your conversation starter and brainstorm a solution? Just one off the top of my head, maybe there needs to be some kind of, maybe just some regular meetings with the folks coming in so that you're kind of cross-trained on each other. What do we do at the job center? What do we do in adult learning centers, so that there's that constant cross-training going on as new people are coming on board, either on the adult ed side or the American Job Center side. So those kind of things might come out of a conversation starter like that. Just a thought. Thanks for sharing those great ideas and barriers and successes. Great to hear. Okay. Now, here's an example of this kind of meeting. I will admit it's staged. So let me set the scene for you. It's actually, what you're going to watch is probably actually a compilation of several real life meetings. In this scene, the CEO of a regional workforce board, that's Shannon on your left, is meeting with the adult basic education director, that's myself, on the right. Yes, okay, it's a mock-up meeting, pretty scripted for this particular video. It actually shows the topics from a long-standing partnership that we developed. But I hope it shows you how we addressed these four essential questions. Why does the adult education program need us? What does the adult education program need us to do? What do we need them to do? How can we contribute to the effort? And how will everybody benefit? So let's see if you can pick out how we mutually answered those four questions as we kind of tune in here and see what happened in this meeting.
Well, Shannon, thanks for taking some time to meet with me today.
You're welcome. I'm happy you're here.
Thanks. Hey, I wanted to meet because, as you know, we're both WIOA core partners, right?
And by the way, as you're watching this, if you hear some answers to those questions, how we're answering those, go ahead and type those in the chat, okay?
And
Right.
that means we're both in the
What?
business of helping
Smoking in
job
here.
seekers get training so they can
Yeah.
become full-time employees in companies.
You want to get out in the sun, or we
So I
just
wanted to find out how we might work closer together in that effort.
Sure, that would be fine. I mean, we seem to be serving the same population, so it makes sense.
Yeah, great. So in our adult education program, we're doing some planning for next year. So I was wondering, can you give me an idea of what your training priorities are?
Well, I'll tell you, we have 5 employment sectors we're emphasizing right now: transportation and logistics, health sciences, advanced manufacturing, business and IT, and construction. Our region really needs employees in those areas badly, and anything you could do in those sectors would really help.
Great. Good. So within those sectors, are there any particular types of training the businesses around here are looking for or your one-stop customers need?
Well, we really could use another provider for welding. We have some training providers for welding already, but there's just more demand for that than we can meet right now. Truck driving is one that's just absolutely huge in demand. And construction too. We do have a provider for HVAC training, but that program takes so long, and quite frankly, the provider we work with hasn't been very successful in getting people to complete the course and earn their certification.
Oh, okay. So how about in the business and IT area? Do you mean something like Microsoft Office certifications?
Not really that. I'm talking more like computer support, networking, security training, things like that.
Oh, I see. I wouldn't think HVAC would be in such great demand, but I guess everyone needs heating and air conditioning, right?
Right.
So what kind of training does someone need to get into HVAC?
I think the certification is called the EPA 608. I'm not sure what's involved in that. All I know is we can't seem to get enough job seekers through that program. They drop out or lose interest or get employed in some lower wage job just so they can meet their living expenses before they finish. And the certification rates have been really low.
Oh, okay. So if we could offer an IET or ICAPS for that EPA 608 certification, that would be helpful?
What do you mean by IET and ICAPS?
Oh, sorry. So IET stands for Integrated Education and Training. It's an adult education course we could offer that teaches adult literacy skills, occupational skills, and workforce readiness skills so they can be employed in a high wage, in demand occupation. In Illinois, we call them ICAPS, which stands for Integrated Career and Academic Preparation System. Same thing. IET is a federal term you've probably seen in WIOA legislation. ICAPS is the Illinois term.
Oh yeah, I see. That would be great.
Okay, I'll check in to see what EPA 608 is all about and see if we can do that. Now, how about welding? What kind of certifications do people need in welding?
I don't know exactly. I know there are a lot of different certifications available. I'd say just any entry-level certification you can teach toward would be great. That's what our companies are looking for, just something that shows they've had some experience and they're trainable.
And I guess you need these to be short term too, right? Like a semester or less?
Yes, for companies and job seekers, the quicker the better. We have to get them employed as quickly as we can.
Okay, so maybe an ICAPS class for welding. Now, you said you work with training providers. So what does that look like?
Well, we have some funds to pay for the training. The one-stop customer has to be eligible and has to demonstrate a need for that training. I mean, if they're already employed in a high-wage, in-demand occupation, we're probably not going to pay for training in something else. And the training provider has to be on our state's eligible training provider list.
Oh, okay. So if we offer some training in an in-demand occupation and job seekers need that training, I guess we could use some of our adult education funding and some of your WIOA training funds, and we get a lot of them employed that way, right?
Well, yes. And if you can use some of your adult education funds, that would be great. I can't think of another provider that does that. They tend to rely solely on us for funding. So, yes, that would help both of us serve a lot of people.
Okay, I'm going to work on welding and HVAC to get them approved for ICAPS and then on the eligible training provider list.
That sounds great. And thanks for coming to meet with me. Since we have similar performance goals for our programs, this partnership seems like it will really help both of us improve our enrollment numbers, our job placements, our credential rates. And the best part is we'll be able to help more people get better jobs and earn higher wages too.
Well, I completely agree. Thanks for your time, Shannon. I'll get to working on it and I'll talk to you again soon. Well,
Okay.
Shannon, thanks for taking some time.
Steve, in the chat, do we have any responses to the video?
Yeah, there were several responses. Several people mentioned that adult ed and workforce development boards are serving the same population. Training is needed. training needed is training provided under IET, trying to fulfill regional workforce needs. Lisa mentioned help sharpen the development of course offerings so it matches the needs and students can go straight to work. And let's see, Michelle mentioned that under WIOA, local workforce development boards are required to include representatives from education and training activities, which includes adult ed. Specifically, WIOA requires that local boards include representatives of entities administering education and training activities in the local area, including adult education and literacy, higher education institutions, and other education and training providers. And this requirement was designed to strengthen collaboration between workforce development and adult ed so that services are aligned and individuals can move seamlessly from education into employment and training pathways. And Heather mentioned both are using funding. Michelle mentioned working together to fill gaps. And let's see, Maya mentioned same performance goals. Chrissy mentioned HVAC apprenticeship might be better than an IET for heating, ventilation, air conditioning. IET isn't always the answer, especially if it's a longer training.
Good, good. Excellent points. That's exactly those kind of things we will kind of want to get out of that. Again, that's just one example of how I try to address these 4 questions and in the whole issue of partnership with my WIOA co-partner here. Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Okay. Now you have the chance to hear about a very positive, fruitful, and beneficial partnership between regional workforce development boards and its local adult education providers. That's not mocked up. I'd like you to meet Rob King. Rob King serves as Executive Director for the South Central Indiana Region 8 Workforce Board since July of 2018. I'd like you to meet also Chris Harmon. He is the Director of Adult Education in the Monroe County Community School Corporation in Bloomington, Indiana. And Michelle Ellis, the Director of Training Programs for Wagler Education Training Center, another adult education provider. They're both in Region 8 of Indiana, so you can see on the map where they are in South Central Indiana. If you came to the COAB conference, that was Region 12, right there in the middle in Indianapolis. Region 8 is just to the south and a little bit west of where we were for the COAB conference. So Rob and Chris and Michelle, could you come on?
Hello, everybody. This is Rob King.
Rob King. Chris Harmon, are you on?
I am on. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate the introduction.
And how about Michelle?
I am here.
Okay. Listen, so here we have a very example of a workforce development board, executive director, and 2 adult education programs in that service area, Region 8, that work together. And I'd like to just propose some questions to them, have an open discussion with them about that partnership, how it came about, challenges, and how they solve those challenges. And I'd invite our participants who are attending the webinar, you type in your questions and topics that you'd like them to address, okay? If you've had a great success story, please type that in for us. If you got some challenges that you faced in partnering, please put those in that Rob and Chris and Michelle can kind of give us some ideas on to maybe take a little, an approach that might work that hasn't been tried yet, okay? So please participate in the chat there with us. Okay, so Rob and Chris and Michelle. Rob, you might, particularly you, I think, on this one, and since you've had the long history here, can you tell us about how this relationship started? This is about 15 years now going on, isn't it? Or something like that? How did this relationship get started? Give us a little color on the history of that, okay?
Sure. Well, and first off, thanks for having me here today. I do appreciate it. This collaboration for the past decade, we've had a wonderful collaboration, but it goes back to when we became WIOA, and WIOA used to be the Workforce Investment Act, and then in 2014 to 2015, we implemented the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. I think the biggest change for WIOA, instead of just recommending partners, they kind of said you had to partner, which turned out to be a great thing. And I will say, prior to 2015, for us in South Central Indiana, we didn't have a great partnership with adult ed. Just a little bit of regional makeup, to give you a little background, we have 5 adult education partners in our region. and we serve 8 counties. So, and they pretty much, they did at that time it was the GED, but they also and today it's HSE, but they were really siloed, as were we, kind of working independently and just trying to, we just kind of muddling away and getting things done for our own metrics. So, and actually, I got the pleasure of working with Rob Moore. He was actually in Monroe County at that time. We decided we're going to make a great collaboration. Our board directed that, this has to be. We need to do something to serve all our clients. So we started out with trying to establish a great relationship with the Broadview Learning Center, which is our Monroe County adult ed provider. We actually brought them to our Work One Center, and we put us in a room. We brought their case managers, our case managers, and we said, we're going to hack this out. We're going to come out with an overall goal to how we can best serve our clients since we serve similar clients. And I won't lie, there were some tense, we put it all on the table. There were some intense negotiations, but in the end, we decided we're going to do cross training, and we're going to learn what each individual entity does. So that's really helped us. That's the start. That was the birth of the collaboration that has turned into a really powerful collaboration today with all our adult ed providers. We learned not only the metrics, we learned case management. We were willing to teach. They were willing to teach us. And then the biggest thing is we made sure all our case managers were willing to learn. And once we did that, I mean, really, we're interchangeable in today's world. We work with all five. Michelle, who's on here, is with the Wagler Education and Training Center, and Chris Harbin's with Broadview Learning Center today. But we work with them constantly. We collaborate, which is a key, all the time. And we have programs that are really way beyond what we used to do before this collaborative effort started. By that, I mean, a lot, the adult ed providers are, to me, they remind me of CTE programs. I mean, they're providing these trainings now, welding, truck driver, all that, all those kind of trainings, and they're willing to cross counties to do so. So that's another thing. But like I said, it started out with just making sure we learn what each case managers do on both sides and respecting that. And we work on this constantly. It was a lot of hard work, but we will not let this partnership fall apart.
Awesome. And Rob, one thing that I learned in that process, and I think I maybe added to the tense part of it because I didn't understand this. Okay, under WIOA Title II, if we have an adult learner come in and they register and they attend class for 12 hours, bam, they're enrolled and we're accountable for their performance. No questions asked, right? We couldn't really hardly control that. And I didn't understand, okay, when someone enrolls with you at the Workforce Development Center, my gosh, well, the case manager can choose to enroll the person or not. And I thought,
Absolutely.
well, that's hardly fair. I mean, my gosh. Okay, but you helped me understand that, and we actually got to kind of use that, if you will. Use is probably the wrong word here, but use that as when we did IETs in training together for job seekers. I thought, I really got religion on it when I said, we could really. That's not a bad way to go. We could make if we just made the Workforce Development Center the vetting organization to make sure the people are in the right training. Okay, so
Absolutely.
you became our front door for our IETs. We referred them to you, so that you did a really good job of making sure that people were in the right training. So so when I got religion about it, it helped me to turn a negative into something very positive. And that was all a result of the relationship and the constant communication. So thanks for converting me on that. Sorry, I was so tense on that about 10 years, 15 years ago, but it really helped us. Okay. Rob, so what? So besides besides the requirement of WIOA, why would you partner with the Adult Basic Education Project? Why would you partner with the likes of us? What benefits have you seen that makes you want to continue that great partnership you have with Chris and Michelle and other adult learning providers?
Well, first off, we love our adult ed providers, and we got to realize we serve the same clients. Basically, I mean, we work with underemployed and unemployed individuals, which are going to be the makeup that they work with every day. So most people that's going to go through the adult ed system are most likely going to qualify for our programs in some manner, whether it's just basic job search activities or all the way to training. Training for like certifications or in-depth or up to 2-year degrees. They serve the same ones. So they're also important because their metrics are pretty identical to ours. They always have. So the one thing we had to learn was just what are they specifically meeting that's a little bit different than us and the requirements. Once we learned that, the flow was great. And, and you mentioned something a while ago about that we vet them before we send them adult ed. I would say in the 10 years today, we've got some of the adult ed folks vetting them for us as well. Michelle regularly sends us people that she knows is qualified. Her staff know what our requirements are as well. So they're almost interchangeable with us and could work on either side. So to say they're important is an understatement. They're doing the same job we are. They're part of the workforce system. They're important. So they're helping us. When we achieve something, they're usually part of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Chris Harmon, Adult Education Director in Bloomington, Indiana, the school system there. What does this partnership mean to you? What was some successes, some challenges, some examples of this partnership that you can share with us?
Thanks, Rob. And thanks for having me here today. So first thing I'll say is, we have students entering our high school equivalency classes every day. And, you ask what their goals are. And a lot of times the answer is, I want to get my GED. But ultimately, that is not the goal. That's not the end goal. There is a reason they want to get their GED. So it seems like, a lot of the students that are in our classes, there's a natural progression to workforce training. And so, we can help them with their education and their diploma, and then move them right into a workforce training class, whether it's through our program or through another program. And, it just seems like a natural progression. So we like to lay that path out for our students. And that's not the only path that our students, they might start at the workforce looking for training, and they're referred here, and we get them enrolled and we get them trained. And there's just a lot of communication that occurs between us and the workforce center. So it's not always perfect, but I think that the best advice is just communication, open communication before trainings, during trainings, after trainings, and then constantly retooling to make sure that we're serving our students and both sides of this program the best that we can. So it luckily for me, I kind of stepped into a system that Rob Moore and Rob King had already set up, and so I was able to just kind of sit in the seat and keep driving, and make sure that we are doing things that is beneficial to everyone.
Awesome. Thanks. Michelle, same questions to you. What's this partnership mean to you? How do you keep it going? How have you addressed any challenges and any successes or examples that you'd like to share with us?
This partnership, it aligns adult education with the state's workforce and economic development goals. It's a win-win for both of us. The cross training, the regular communication, developing a clear referral process, and just seeing students succeed because of the joint case management. I mean, that you can't put words in that. That's the collaboration is the reason these students are succeeding. The participating in meetings, sharing labor market information, and sharing the data. You mentioned success stories. We often share success stories and give each other recognition for that because of the collaboration and the partnership that made the students successful.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Proud of all three of you for keeping that going. Steve, in the chat, are there any challenges people have mentioned that maybe we could have our panel give some ideas on?
So absolutely. We have several questions in the Q&A, and I'll start with Rebecca's question. And she's got a question and then to provide some context. She says, can you give any tips on what to expect for someone who is about to attend their first workforce development board meeting? And she also says, for some context, we're a largest national association. Our members are employers. They want us to help them understand what to do at a workforce development board meeting because they want to partner with adult ed.
Okay. Who would like to take that one?
Well, I can start off. This is Rob, and somebody mentioned in the chat it is a requirement to have an adult ed person on our board, and I'm fortunate here with me. Michelle Ellis is that representative here in our region. So, and just a little bit about how we select that person. We developed an adult education consortium team here that meets regularly. I think they meet at least once a quarter and as needed. And that consortium, they're the ones that nominate and put the adult ed rep on our board. And Michelle Ellis has been it for a few years now. Um, and she's been a great member and a great advocate for adult education. For your first board, there's going to be a lot of, I'm hoping I'm understanding this question right. When you go to a board meeting, it's comprised of business entity. You're right, 50% plus of the board is required to be employer driven. And that is the case for all boards. They're all going to have to meet that requirement. But the best thing is that they're going to be going through, general business that a board goes through, approving funds, doing things. But the networking that you'll have an opportunity to do is what I'd say the best prepare for an adult ed to go for their board meeting. And we invite all our adult ed providers to come to the board meeting as a guest. They don't, although Michelle's the only one that sits on the board. But we also we go through great tasks to make sure our board members understand what it is adult ed providers do. We share successes, we share challenges, we share how they partner with us, so they are familiar with everything that we do. We have a great partnership with the Workforce Ready grant with our adult ed folks. They're actually part of what we do. We actually, when we submit a proposal for these kind of funds, they're right in with the proposal with us. So that's how great the partnership is for us. But at a workforce board level, I'll let Michelle answer from her perspective of how the board goes and see how she looks at it.
My advice on the first board meeting is to listen and hear what the employer's needs are, since over 50% of it is employers, and hear what their needs are, and then think about how you can help fill their needs or the gap by preparing your students to enter the workforce. A lot of times I'll hear from the employers and I'm like, okay, this is a need. So we need to look at offering, maybe we need to look at offering IT help desk computer courses, what to see to help fill that gap for the employers.
Great, thank you. We're at the top of the hour here. Steve, what's another interesting challenge that our panel can answer?
Yeah, we've got two other questions.
Great.
Shandara asks, can you share a good example of the successful partnership between adult ed and workforce development agencies? How did they start? What were the opportunities and challenges of their partnership?
Great. Panelists.
Well, as I mentioned, and this is Michelle will probably have a lot to say about this. I think one of our greatest partnerships involves the Workforce Ready grant in our state. We partner with Michelle to identify specific trainings we need, such as welding, HVAC, construction. And there's so many great stories to tell from some of the training she provides. And we also have our other adult ed providers provide these trainings as well, and we work with them. So she's a good example for the Workforce Ready grant, and I'll let her share her perspective from an adult ed standpoint.
I mean, with adult ed, it's partnerships, partnerships, partnerships. So partnerships with your Work One development board is a priority, and then that pulls businesses in as well. So with that Workforce Ready grant, we're, and developing that relationships more and more is regular meetings again, and just a clear referral process and helping each other to get that student to be where they need to be successful. But I really feel that the biggest thing is the partnerships with the community. They will see, the community will notice the partnerships, and then you'll have more and more businesses that want in, and it all starts with the workforce board and then goes on down to the local work ones, and we just keep building that partnership to be long-term and stronger as you work with them.
Great. Chris, any thoughts on that question?
So I definitely agree with what Rob and Michelle have both said, but clear communication, clear processes, And just really communicating with each other so that you know what their needs are, what our needs are, and how we can best fill those needs working together in the partnership. So that would be my suggestion.
Good. Steve, do we have time for one more we can squeeze in?
All right, we have
what do
one
you, what
more
do you got?
question from Heather, and she asks, how do we identify businesses that need workers?
Well, I can start from that. We have, I'm sure as many of you do, we have a business teams that reach out constantly. We don't get as many here lately. Since the pandemic, the unemployment rate has been quite low, so not getting as many warn notices, which is a good thing. But we've seen a little bit of rise in that here lately. So we always reach out to anybody that's, issuing a warn notice or having some kind of layoff that we hear about. But getting out to the businesses, one thing I would recommend is we work closely with our economic development partners. We go to their meetings, we attend those. They're business driven as well. So that's where I get to meet a lot of folks in the region. We also have some of our leadership team is also going to the other meetings because we have 8 counties we serve. So there's 8 different economic development regions. So counties that we serve. So they can really get the word out. And, partnering with them as well and letting them know your services, just like we do with the adult ed, they can spread the word to a lot of businesses and identify their needs for employees. So I hope that makes sense. But going through, we have a good communication system where they can contact us and refer to us, and they also partner with us to identify things we can offer, such as employer training grants and things such as that nature that will actually help us direct money directly to the employer for upskilling their incumbent workers.
Excellent. So using your American Job Center, Workforce Development Center's business engagement team or employer services team, whatever title they're using there. Thanks. Chris, yeah. Rob?
Well, I was
Chris and
just saying
Michelle?
all of them, all partners.
Yes,
Yeah,
I will
for
actually
sure.
have employers call and say, I'm needing welders. Do you have a class graduating soon? And
Okay. Chris, any thought on that also?
I just think the more connections that you can make, more partnerships that you have, the better that you can get the word out about the services you could provide, the more opportunities you're going to see come about.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what I did also when I was in Chris's seat, I would take some of our major employers and go on their websites, like the hospitals, go on their websites under career services and see if they have job postings. And especially if the same job posting is occurring again and again and again. Okay. Indeed is another good source. You can search on Indeed for your area and see who's posting jobs. And I always tell our adult ed directors here in our state, if you're driving down an interstate or a state highway and you see a billboard with some company advertising for positions, come work for us, $10,000 bonus, they're putting a big investment into recruiting for a reason. That's the ones I always try to visit. Okay. Uh, Steve, how we doing?
We'll have one more question if you'd like to take one last one.
Okay.
Heather says we seem to have partnerships on paper because we are all supposed to, but we don't work together at all. How could we introduce a change in the relationship?
Rob, help us with that one to start with. Okay. How do we
Sure.
actually
I
bring
mean,
the partnership on paper
first
into
of all,
life?
a workforce board should jump at the opportunity, in my opinion, to work with the adult ed providers. But when you reach out to them, one thing just to keep in mind is, be open, and the workforce board should as well. I mean, I can't control how they're going to respond to you, but be willing to, when you approach them, when you let them know that you're willing to work with them from both perspectives. You want to learn what they do, they'll learn what you do, and keep your mind open. Don't just be about your own personal perspectives and what your needs are and what your metrics are, so to speak. Even though we got similar metrics, you still can't, you got to present it as it is good to collaborate. And it does sadden me a little bit if you got some of your folks out here that's not, the board's not willing to work with them. That just doesn't make sense to me. Adult ed is very valuable, and I don't see how you wouldn't make it a priority to make that relationship work. But when you reach out, be open, and sometimes it's just try to connect to the right person, whether it's a board contact, a one-stop operator, or even a service provider. You can reach out. There should be somebody that's going to be wanting to connect with you.
And that's a great point, Rod. Let me ask you this. If adult education, like she's suggesting, wants to bring this to life, who would be a great first contact? Is it someone like you, who's the executive director of the board, or is it someone, is it the case manager in the local office or a supervisor? Who's the right first contact, in your opinion, for us?
Well, I like to say it's all the above as it should be, and if you do it at a case manager level, it should work its way up through the management and the leadership. But I would say if you had to put a person out there, I would be absolutely happy to put my name out there and for somebody to contact me to say, hey, how do I get this started? Not only would I do it, I would get it started for you. But at your board level, the board director is a good person to reach out to. The board director is responsible for the day-to-day administrative activities of the board. That's just one of the duties, but yeah, that was definitely something they could collaborate on. Reaching out to your adult ed workforce development board members another good way because they have a say on the board. They should be able to collaborate with the board and say, hey, we need more activities. We need to work with this more. And that should be something they should be able to bring the attention to. But you can also go into any Work One Center and, there's usually going to be an office manager or someone of that type. But even if it's a case manager, that is fine. Just tell them you want to know more about the board and how you can work better with the board, and they should be able to refer you.
No wrong front door then. Whoever you can talk to. And I think if you go back to the beginning of the presentation when we got that not the behind every employer but the Workforce Development Board finder, I think that'd be a great place to find where that office is and march yourself right in there and say I'd like to talk to somebody. Huh? Am I onto something?
Absolutely. And you don't have to just be sitting on the board to attend it. You can go to their board meeting and at the end. Stick around at the end and talk to somebody.
There we go. Here we go. Okay. Well, Rob and Chris and Michelle, way to go. Thank you for giving us some great examples, some great advice, how to overcome challenges, because no partnership is ever just a dance through the tulip field, okay? There are challenges from the beginning, middle, and all the way through, and you helped us to get started. I think you helped us to maintain and expect challenges and how to overcome them and celebrate successes together. So thank you. Thanks for the time you spent to join us, and thank all of you for attending this presentation. And I hope it has inspired you to begin, or maybe to try again, to begin a partnership with your Workforce Development Center and your Workforce Development Board that will yield positive outcomes for you, your workforce development agency, your adult basic education provider, your job seekers, your students. And if I can be of any assistance to overcoming some barriers, please feel free to contact me and I'll be happy to help. So you enjoy the rest of the day today and the rest of your week. Thanks for the work you do for your job seekers and customers and students. And Steve, throwing it back to you now.
Thank you, Robert Moore, and thank you so much, Rob King and Chris Harmon and Michelle Ellis, for your awesome contributions to the webinar today. While we're talking about thank yous, we want to thank again Robert Breitbart and Burlington English. And Robert, do you have any other thoughts before we close?
You're just so blessed to have this, and I hope this inspires the entire country to do what the Workforce Investment Act of 1998 and the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act of 2014, and head down to your local partner and tell them Indiana sent you. Fantastic job, and thanks to everybody. And we're here at Burlington Workforce to help out however we might. So congratulations to everybody here, and thanks so much to Sharon Bonney, the COE board, Steve Schmidt, and everybody who helped put this together. Well done, folks.
Thank you, Robert Breitbart, and thanks again to Burlington English for sponsoring today. And thank you, everyone, for attending, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.